Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Raymond Yeung. Here are tonight's top stories. The number 8 signal will be issued overnight as the strongest typhoon in recent years approaches Hong Kong. A collision in Tung Chung between a school bus and a double-decker injures 34 people, many of them children. And a fire kills at least 73 people in the South African city of Johannesburg. All schools will be closed tomorrow as the second number 8 typhoon signal of the year will be issued between 2 and 5 a.m. Super Typhoon Saola is edging closer to Hong Kong, prompting the government to urge people to be vigilant. Janice Low reports.
As Super Typhoon Saola rolled closer to Hong Kong, the observatory issued the strong wind signal number 3 at 3:40 p.m. Saola was about 360 kilometers east-southeast of the city at 7 p.m. and is expected to edge even closer gradually. For the first time ever, the government urged the public to brace for the number 8 gale or storm signal almost half a day in advance. It announced that the warning would be issued between 2 and 5 a.m. The new school year had been scheduled to begin tomorrow, but students will get an extra day off as classes will be suspended because of the storm. The observatory has not ruled out issuing the first number 10 signal of the year.
We already forecast that hurricane force winds are possible over offshore waters and on high ground. If that really happened, then the issuance of typhoon signal number 10 is possible. But then all these will still be depending on whether the typhoon is really moving according to the forecast track and also its intensity change.
The government is on high alert as Saola is predicted to be one of the worst typhoons ever to lash the city. The storm surge level at Tolo Harbour and Victoria Harbour could go up to 5 meters above the chart datum tomorrow night and before noon on Saturday, similar to when Typhoon Wanda struck back in 1962. In flood-prone Tayo, the highest storm surge level could go up to 3.8 meters above chart datum before noon on Saturday. People have been urged to stay away from coastal areas and avoid outdoor activities. Janice Low, HKIBC.
Over in the United States, Hurricane Natalia has weakened into a tropical depression as it heads north along the east coast. The storm made landfall in Florida, leaving a trail of destruction in its path. Sachin Kaffer reports.
A cleanup operation is underway after Hurricane Natalia ripped through Florida, uprooting trees and power lines. Rooftops were blown away, causing extensive damage to homes and businesses. The town of Perry in the west of the state was hit hard. Power companies have been struggling to restore electricity after outages affected more than 400,000 people. Heavy rain caused widespread flooding in low-lying and coastal areas in the city of Tampa, where the sea became a part of the neighborhood. Parts of Interstate 275, which runs through Tampa, were shut after storm surges spilled over the highway. Boats and rafts were the only means of transportation in the Gulf Coast community of Steinhatchee, which was almost entirely submerged. Airboats were deployed in Citrus County to evacuate stranded residents and pets. There was nothing much to be done as people just had to wait for the floodwaters to recede. The Category 3 hurricane made landfall in the Big Bend region of Florida's Gulf Coast, where the Panhandle meets the peninsula. With sustained winds of up to 200 kilometers per hour, Natalia was one of the strongest hurricanes to hit the area in more than a century. But it weakened into a tropical depression as it headed north along the eastern U.S., transiting through the states of Georgia and South Carolina. Sachin Katwi, HKIBC.
More local news. A school bus and a double-decker have collided on Lantau, injuring 34 people, including many children. Police suspect that the accident occurred when the school bus veered off the lane. Janice Low reports.
The 65-year-old driver of a school bus was seriously injured when his vehicle collided with a double-deck bus on Tung Chung Road in Tung Chung at around 7:45 a.m. The crash shattered the windshield of the Discovery Bay double-decker, and the driver had to be rescued by firefighters. The 25-year-old remained conscious, but said his neck was hurt. In all, 34 people were injured, including 21 on the school bus. They were sent to 4 hospitals. 3 people, the school bus driver and 2 children, were admitted in serious condition. Some students were in shock after the crash. This girl, who was very scared, said everyone on the school bus started screaming and there was blood everywhere. This commuter, who was sitting on the lower deck of the bus, heard a loud bang all of a sudden. Fortunately, all the passengers stayed calm and most did not sustain severe injuries, she added. Police Superintendent Tung Chung said an initial investigation found that the 2 buses had been traveling on the same lane. It is believed that the school bus bound for Discovery Bay veered off the lane and caused the accident, he said. The school bus driver was arrested for dangerous driving, causing grievous bodily harm. Tung Chung Road was sealed off temporarily after the crash. Janice Low, HKIBC.
Canto pop singer turned activist Tommy Yoon has been sentenced to 26 months in prison for sedition and money laundering. He stoked hatred against the government and the judiciary on social media and obtained more than $700,000 through a bogus donation drive. Tommy Yoon was arrested in February 2022 after the Canto pop singer published a series of social media posts which police said amounted to sedition. Apart from the colonial-era law, which dates back to 1938, the democracy activist was also charged with money laundering by soliciting donations through fraudulent claims. The 43-year-old pleaded guilty to both counts last month. The prosecution had presented a series of posts on Yoon's Facebook and Instagram accounts. In one article in September 2021, he mocked the death of a Marine police officer who died in the line of duty, saying it was something worth celebrating. Less than 2 weeks later, he published a similar post making fun of Chief Magistrate Victor So, who was reportedly hospitalized. As for the money laundering charge, the court was told that Yoon and his wife, who is now overseas, asked for donations to help a young protester facing a riot charge while caring for her ailing mother. Police found the character to be fabricated, and part of the proceeds of nearly $720,000 was used for gambling. Passing sentence today, District Judge Ernest Lin noted the offences took place after the social unrest and during COVID. While Yoon did not incite violence, his posts conveyed a sense of schadenfreude and cynicism and stoked hatred in society. Lin also slammed the defendant for cheating possibly over 1,000 people by taking advantage of their sympathy. Yoon was sentenced to 21 months jail for each offense, with 3 months from the money laundering charge served concurrently. After a 1/3 reduction for his guilty plea, the musician will serve 26 months in jail. Overseas again, at least 73 people have been killed and 40 injured in a fire which gutted a building in the South African city of Johannesburg. The victims were believed to be migrants who took over the abandoned 5-story building. About 200 people were said to be inside when the fire broke out early this morning. At least 1 child was among the dead. Firefighters searching for survivors feared the casualty toll may rise, as the building did not have any safety rules. In another fire, 15 people lost their lives in a blaze in the Philippine capital Manila this morning. Firefighters removed bodies found in a house which was being used as a clothing factory. The victims included workers, as well as the factory owner and his child. 3 people survived by jumping from the second floor of the 2-story building in suburban Quezon City. Floods delayed the arrival of firefighters, who also complained that they were given the wrong address. The retail sector and the government have been urged to chip in to boost sales in Hong Kong.
The industry should provide better service and products with creativity to give customers a fresh experience. At the same time, retailers express the hope of providing more attractive discounts and offers to consumers, using activities and workshops to increase interaction and connection with customers in order to encourage Hong Kong residents to consume locally. The government can provide support, including to rebuild the image of Hong Kong as an experiential shopping paradise.
Law's remarks came as Hong Kong's retail sales in July were worse than expected, rising by 16.5% from a year earlier to $33 billion. Sales in June gained 19.5%. Purchases of medicines and cosmetics jumped nearly 46%. Sales of Chinese drugs and herbs, as well as footwear, rose about 45%. The government said the tourism revival is expected to benefit the retail sector in the coming months. The ailing mainland property sector drifted into further crisis after Country Garden reported a record loss for the first half of the year. China's biggest developer lost 49 billion yuan, but analysts say it could just be the tip of the iceberg, and the builder's financial situation could be worse than that of rival China Evergrande. The housing slump has seen the Foshan-based developer struggle to avoid potential defaults. Its stock value has dropped by more than 60% so far this year. It tanked another 3.3% yesterday, but appreciated 1.1% today, to close at 89 cents. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index ended the day down by 100 points. The top 10 active stocks. Tencent was down 80 cents. Alibaba lost 15 cents, while the Tracker Fund was down 7 cents. BYD was up by $1, while Ping An Insurance was down by 10 cents. The forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar. The euro's at 8.53. 1,000 Japanese yen will get you 53 Hong Kong dollars, and the Australian dollar's at 5.08. And finally, in Europe, the London FTSE is currently up 13 points. Finally, the weather. Expect very strong winds and heavy showers tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 26 and 30 degrees. The unsettled weather is here to stay, with the number 3 typhoon signal in force and the number 8 to be issued overnight. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Thursday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Raymond Yeung. Good night.